I didn't know the name. Just a link, dropped into my inbox like a beer bottle tossed off a rooftop. No subject, no message. Just, thought you should see this. It was from an account I didn't recognize. No profile photo. Username was something generic, Warm Season 90. Probably a burner. I almost deleted it. Thought it was spam. But I was walking back from lunch, the hallway still echoing with Friday noise, and I had nothing better to do while the elevator groaned its way down. I tapped the link. Spotify. The playlist was called Late Night Droplet. That emoji, a single teardrop, should have told me everything. But it didn't. Not yet. The description read, "When she leaves, I play this." My stomach tightened, though I didn't know why. I hadn't even seen the cover yet. And then it loaded. The thumbnail wasn't sharp. Not album quality or anything. But the lighting was warm, like late afternoon sun bleeding through gauze. She was leaning against a wall, barefoot, holding a chipped mug, my blue Oxford shirt falling off her shoulder. Her smile was crooked, barely there. It was her, my girlfriend, Cora. I stared at the photo for a full 5 seconds before I registered what I was seeing. Then I zoomed in. My thumb shook a little. It was definitely her. Her necklace, the tiny amethyst drop her sister gave her. Her chipped pinky nail. Even the shirt. That was mine. She always said it was her favorite because it smelled like cedar and not too much detergent. She wasn't looking at the camera. That made it worse somehow. Like she didn't know the photo was being taken. Or maybe she did, and that's what the look was. I walked into the stairwell. Didn't trust myself in the elevator anymore. My ears were hot. My fingers numb. I opened our photo library. Nothing. She hadn't posted that photo anywhere. Not to Instagram. Not in her stories. Not even saved in the shared album we barely remembered to update. I scrolled back months. Years. Nothing even close. And I would have known. I would have remembered that exact moment. That shirt. That look. Except I didn't. Because I wasn't the one who took it. The playlist had 16 songs. Mostly ambient. Obscure indie tracks with names like Empty Streets, and I kept the window open just in case. The kind of songs you'd play if you wanted to miss someone deliberately. I clicked on the username. Blue Veil. No bio. No location. No other playlists. Their followers were hidden, but they had one follower. Just one. Someone named Stitchlight. I froze. Because that username. I knew it. It was the alias Cora used for her anonymous poetry blog in college. She hadn't posted in years. But I remember how proud she was of that username. She called it her invisible signature. Said it felt like her real self lived there. And now that name, her name, was following this anonymous playlist. I stared at the screen. The teardrop. The shirt. The follower. The caption. When she leaves, I play this. Leaves who? Leaves me? I didn't even know how to process what I was looking at. It felt like overhearing someone say your name in a foreign language. The words don't register, but your body reacts anyway. A silent alarm. I opened messages and started typing. Hey, got a weird link from someone. Then I stopped. Deleted the whole thing. What was I even going to ask? Is there a playlist with your photo on it where someone misses you at night and you're wearing my clothes? The words felt pathetic. So I waited. I waited until she came home. She was 20 minutes late. Blamed traffic. Kissed me lightly on the cheek and asked if we had any oat milk left. I watched her pull her shoes off. The way she uncoiled her scarf. It was so normal, I almost believed I imagined it all. Until I noticed her socks. They weren't hers. They were mine. Another piece. Tiny. Insignificant on its own. But I saw it now. I saw everything. And I knew I wasn't ready to ask. Not yet. I needed more. So that night, while she showered, I opened her iPad. She never locked it. Said she hated passwords. Said trust was simpler. The irony tasted like blood. I scrolled through her tabs. Nothing stood out. until I checked her Spotify. Recently played. The playlist wasn't there, but a track from it was. Track 7. Water in the Bed. Played 3 times in the past week. She didn't just know about it. She listened to it. Alone. Repeatedly. I closed the iPad before I heard the shower turn off. She emerged in a towel, steam trailing behind her. Smiling. Asking about dinner. Her eyes soft. And I smiled back. Because now I knew how to find him. The one who made the playlist. The one who had her photo. The one who missed her when she left. He didn't watermark the photo. That was the first thing I noticed once I calmed down enough to study it properly. No signature. No tag. Not even a filter. Just raw. Like it had been taken on a phone and never meant to be shared. Which made it worse somehow. It wasn't performative. It was personal. I downloaded the image. My hands felt foreign. It felt like stealing, even though it was her. But I couldn't stop looking at it. I used an image search tool. Dragged the file into the window. Waited. Nothing. No matches on social media. No hits on photography blogs. Nothing public. Then I did something I hadn't done in months. I logged into her old blog. Stitchlight. The password came back to me like muscle memory. She used the name of her high school English teacher. The one who told her she'd never be a real writer. I typed it in. It worked. The blog hadn't been updated in over 2 years, but she hadn't deleted it. There were still fragments of her there. Poems that didn't rhyme. Grainy black and white photos of door frames and rain-streaked windows. Back when I first found it, I thought it was beautiful. Now it read like a slow confession. I clicked through her follower list. There were 43 accounts. Most were bots or dead links. But one username stopped me. Blue Veil. The same one from the playlist. He'd followed her blog 7 years ago. And then I found it. A comment on one of her earliest posts. A poem titled Borrowed Things. His comment was just one line. Your voice sounds like a room I used to sleep in. She replied to him. Some rooms let you keep the key. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't a stranger. This was someone she'd known. Someone with a past. And not just a fling, either. You don't write that way to someone you only kissed once in college. This was deeper. Older. The kind of intimacy that doesn't go away, just gets buried. And now he had her photo. In my shirt. On a playlist. Describing what it felt like when she left. I wanted to throw my laptop across the room. But instead, I sat very still. The kind of stillness that isn't peace, just the body's way of holding itself together. That's when I made a fake account. New email. New username. Nothing traceable. I followed him. I knew he'd see the notification. I wanted him to. 2 days passed. Nothing. Then, one night around 2 a.m., I got the notification. Blue Veil added a new song to the playlist. It was called Second Favorite Shirt. The lyrics weren't subtle. Some indie ballad with a chorus about laundry and missed calls. I recognized the band. Cora had it on vinyl. Said the singer reminded her of the ocean when it's kind. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I told her I had to work late. She didn't ask questions. Just kissed me on the cheek and said she'd probably be asleep before I got back. It was easy to mirror her trust. Because she was already hiding. I drove around with no destination. My car smelled like stale coffee and the leather cleaner I'd used the week before. I played the playlist. Track by track. Trying to decode him. His name. His patterns. Where he was now. But all I got were feelings. Regret. Distance. Memory. Then one line hit me in the middle of track 9, a song called Window Facing West. The lyric was, You left your book on the kitchen floor, page 42 folded. I kept it. That made me freeze. Because a week ago, I found one of Cora's books under the couch. A poetry collection. The kind she reread. The dog ear was on page 42. I pulled it out when I got home that night. Pretended to look for the remote. Flipped to page 42. The line read, Not everything that feels like home should be. She hadn't underlined it. She circled it. I felt cold. This man knew her recent life. This wasn't a nostalgia act. He had access, not just to her photo, but her now. Her books. Her bedroom, maybe. Our kitchen. I was playing catch-up in my own life. Then it occurred to me. If he had access to that book, and it hadn't left our house, that meant one thing. He'd been inside. While I was at work, or asleep, or trusting. I waited until she left for brunch the next morning. Said she was meeting the girls, though I never heard her mention a single name. I searched the apartment. Slowly. The hallway closet. The shoe rack. The junk drawer in the kitchen. Then I found it. Tucked in the back of the bookshelf behind the cookbooks we never used. A Polaroid camera. Cora didn't own a Polaroid, but we had one now. Still loaded. And inside the storage slot, 3 printed shots. All of her. One was the photo from the playlist. Another was her looking out the bedroom window. Hair up. Shirt. Mine again. The third was a close-up of her mouth. Mid-laugh. All taken indoors. All when I wasn't home. My hand shook as I put them back. Not because of what they meant, but because none of them showed him. He knew not to be seen. Which meant he wasn't just some old lover reliving memories. He was here. Now. And he knew I was looking. There's a kind of fear that doesn't make you run. It makes you wait. It's not panic. It's strategy. Like waiting in tall grass while something moves just out of view. That was me for 3 days. I didn't say anything to Cora. Didn't confront her. I needed her to feel safe. Unaware. I wanted to watch her without her watching me. I tracked her patterns. When she left for work, how long her showers lasted, what time she silenced her phone. I noted everything. And I started watching the house differently. Not for signs of someone breaking in, but for someone who'd already been inside. Who moved like they belonged. The door frame near the bedroom had a faint smudge at shoulder height. Like someone taller than me had leaned there often. The trash can in the bathroom had a crumpled wrapper from a brand of gum I'd never seen her chew. The kind they sell in bulk packs at gas stations. And then there was the phone. Cora's iPad was one thing. But her actual phone, the one with messages, photos, app history, that was the real prize. She kept it face down constantly. That alone wasn't proof. A lot of people do that. But I started checking her screen when she left the room. The way you glance at a stove before leaving for work, not snooping exactly. Just double-checking reality. Then one night while she was asleep, I watched her roll over, groggy, and plug her phone in. She didn't enter a passcode. Just swiped up. Unlocked. Face ID was disabled. No password. That was strange. Cora had always used a passcode. She used to joke that I'd never guess it, even if I tried for years. But now, nothing? That wasn't laziness. That was intentional. She wanted someone else to have access. Someone who didn't know her code. Someone who needed her phone to be easy. The next night, I waited until she was asleep. I slipped the phone from her charger like it was wired to explosives. No buzz. No alerts. Just a clean screen. I opened photos. No albums. Just the recents feed. That's where I found it. Buried between selfies and brunch photos was a single image that didn't belong. It was a photo of me, taken from behind. I was walking toward our front door, jacket in one hand, head turned slightly. She hadn't taken that. I looked at the metadata, time-stamped from a week ago, 11:41 a.m. I was at work, or thought I was. Maybe it was lunch. I couldn't remember. But Cora wasn't home that day. She had meetings downtown. So who took it? And why was it on her phone? The answer came 5 minutes later when I checked her iCloud settings. Her devices were all connected, but one name stood out. iPhone J. I'd never seen that label before. I tapped devices. It was still active, still synced. Whoever J was, they were watching too. Not just her. Me. I pulled my phone out and checked my own iCloud settings. No foreign devices. Just mine. So whoever he was, he didn't touch my phone. Just hers. He trusted her device like it was his. And she let him. Or worse, didn't know he was in. I sat there for hours, cross-referencing photo timestamps with her calendar, looking for overlaps, inconsistencies. That's when the pattern emerged. Every time she claimed to be out with friends, the photos stopped. Every time she stayed in, they started again. He wasn't capturing her in public. He was photographing her at home, inside our walls. He had access not just to her playlist and her photo, but her presence. He was in our private space, stealing moments like a pickpocket stealing breath. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay there next to her, both of us facing opposite directions. Her breathing was steady, peaceful. I watched the digital clock blink 3:11, then 3:27, then 3:49. In the dark, I whispered something I hadn't said out loud in years. "Who are you, really?" The next day, I took her phone while she was in the shower and mirrored it to my laptop. Quiet. Fast. I didn't touch her messages. Not yet. I wanted to hold that line. Pretend some part of this was salvageable. But I did go back to the playlist. This time, something new was there. A new cover photo. Still her. Same soft lighting. But this time, she was sleeping. On her side, curled under our duvet. The frame was tight. Close. Intimate. There's no way she posed for that. Which meant she didn't know it existed. I stared at it, while rising in my throat. Because I remembered that night. She'd had a headache. Took something, and went to bed early. I'd stayed up reading. When I came to bed, she was already like that, curled, still, her breathing low and rhythmic. And I hadn't noticed anything. Not the sound of a shudder. Not the presence of a stranger. Just silence. That image had been taken inches from her face. And she never stirred. I thought about calling the police. But what would I say? My girlfriend is on the cover of a stranger's Spotify playlist, and I think he's taking pictures of her while she sleeps. They'd laugh me off the phone. No break-in. No threat. Just a photo. Just a playlist. Just a woman who didn't know she was being watched by someone who used to have the key. Or still did. That was the thought I couldn't shake. Maybe this wasn't about love. Maybe it was about ownership. I started leaving things slightly out of place. Not in a way she'd notice. Just enough to see if he would. A chair pushed 2 inches further from the table. A book spine turned backward on the shelf. The extra key under the potted plant gone. I removed it quietly and didn't say anything. A week passed. Then 9 days. Then on a Thursday morning, I woke up to find the key back. Under the same plant. Same faint smudge of soil on the metal. He'd put it back. Not stolen. Not hidden. Returned. Like he was telling me he knew I knew and didn't care. That same morning, Cora left early. Claimed she had a client meeting out in Midtown. I watched her grab her coat, tie her scarf. Her fingers moved fast, distracted. Her eyes didn't linger on me like they used to. When the door shut behind her, the silence collapsed inward like a dying star. I didn't go to work. I waited. Every noise in the building made my pulse spike. Every creak, every hallway footstep. I sat on the edge of our bed for hours, the playlist playing on loop in my headphones. Trying to understand him. Track 12. Ceiling Paint, April Mix. The lyrics were cryptic. Some whispered male voice recounting a dream in which he floated above someone sleeping, watching her breathe. One line stood out. I memorized the pattern of your ceiling cracks. I still see them when I blink. I looked up. At our own ceiling. There was a crack there. Faint. Shaped like a wishbone. Had it always been there? I stood on the bed and took a photo. Then I went back through the playlist photos, the new ones he'd swapped in as the days passed. And there it was. Photo 5. A shadowed image of a ceiling, partially blurred. But the shape matched. That wasn't a metaphor. He'd been lying in my spot, watching her sleep. And he'd taken a photo upward, while still beside her. That's when I realized something I hadn't considered until that moment. This wasn't a long-distance obsession. He wasn't waiting for her to come back to him. She never left. They never stopped. Whatever they were, it hadn't ended. I thought I was looking into the past. But this wasn't about memory. This was about presence. That night, I made a burner account. Message Blue Veil directly on Spotify. I kept it short. I think I know who you are. No reply. I sent another. You left the key under the plant. Still nothing. But the next morning, the playlist was gone. Deleted. No trace. No cover photo. No curated heartbreak. Just silence. A vacuum where something had lived for weeks. At first, I felt victorious. Like I'd finally rattled him. Forced him to retreat. But then I opened our shared album on Cora's phone again. A new folder had appeared. Unlabeled. Hidden. Not synced to iCloud. Inside were 4 videos. No audio. Just clips. Cora laughing on our couch. Walking barefoot down the hallway. Stirring tea in the kitchen. Reading on the fire escape. They weren't filmed from her perspective. Or mine. They were filmed from across the street. Through our window. He was still here. Just changed his methods. And then I realized something else. This wasn't surveillance. It was curation. He was making an archive. A museum of her. Not for her. Not for the world. For himself. And it wasn't about having her anymore. It was about taking her away. Pixel by pixel. Memory by memory. Until I had nothing left that hadn't passed through his lens first. That night, Cora and I had dinner. She wore a loose sweater and tucked her legs under her on the chair like she always did when she was trying to relax. She asked how work was. I lied. Said we were onboarding a new hire. She nodded, like she was listening, but her eyes were somewhere else. I wanted to scream, to grab her phone and show her what I'd found. But something held me back. Because in that moment, a new possibility occurred to me. What if she knew? Not everything. Not the videos. Not the playlist. But something. A tether still uncut. An emotional debt still unpaid. And what if she didn't want to sever it? Some people don't move on. They drift. Back and forth. Until one life becomes 2. And you're not sure which one you're living in anymore. I went to bed early. She stayed up. I lay in the dark, listening to her voice carry faintly from the kitchen. Not on a call. Just humming. A tune I recognized from the playlist. Track 3. Borrowed Light. She'd always said she liked the melody. Now I wasn't sure if it was hers at all. There's a drawer in our bedroom I haven't opened in months. The one under the window, next to her side of the bed. It sticks halfway. Always has. Cora called it the graveyard. Old notebooks, expired passports, lip balms with no caps. She joked that anything in there was probably dead. That morning, I opened it. It wasn't dead. It was buried. Letters. Dozens of them. Folded precisely. Dated in the top right corner. Some recent. Others, years old. Each on the same thin, unlined paper. All written in the same handwriting. Not mine. The script was narrow, uneven. The ink faded in places, smudged in others. But the words held. I sat on the floor and read them in silence. One by one. They weren't love letters. Not exactly. They were fragments. Observations. Like journal entries addressed to her. April 2019. You still laugh like you're hiding it. Like someone told you once it was too loud. But I loved the version before the edits. October 2020. He doesn't see the way you sleep. One hand tucked under your throat, like you're holding something fragile. January this year. You wore his shirt today, but you made coffee the way I like it. I don't know what that means. I hope it means something. I couldn't breathe, because I remember that morning. She brought me coffee, kissed my temple, said she'd made it just how I like it. She hadn't. She'd made his. Cinnamon. No cream. I drink mine black. The newest letter was dated 3 days ago. You looked up at the window tonight. Did you know I was there? Or did you just feel it? How some silences hum louder than noise. I stood so fast the letters scattered. He'd been watching. Recently. Often. It wasn't an old flame peeking through the curtains of nostalgia. This was ongoing. Cora was at work. Or said she was. I didn't care anymore. I tore the apartment apart. Not in a rage. In precision. I checked every coat pocket, every drawer, every coat lining, every shelf she thought I never looked at. I mapped our space like it belonged to someone else. Like I was the stranger now. In her makeup bag, a receipt. Coffee for two. For days ago. A place in the East Village. A shop I'd never been to. Not our usual spot. She'd paid. But the second drink wasn't hers. Oat milk. Extra syrup. She hates syrup. I Googled the shop. Pulled it up on Street View. And there, in the reflection of the window, faint, but unmistakable, was a man. Leaning close. Smiling. His hand on her wrist. She was looking at him. Not the camera. Like nothing else existed. I screenshotted it. Zoomed in. His face wasn't familiar. Not a friend. Not an ex I knew. He was nobody. Which made it worse. Because it meant she'd kept him entirely separate. Like a hidden room in a house I thought I built. I sat on the floor, phone in one hand, letters in the other. I don't know how long I stayed there. Time didn't move. When the door finally opened, I didn't turn. I heard the sound of her heels. The familiar keys. The quiet pause. Hey, she called, casual. You're home early? I didn't respond. She came down the hallway slowly. I could hear her breathing shift. That change when the energy in a room isn't right. When you feel the cold before you see the window cracked. She stepped into the bedroom. Saw the letters. Her mouth opened. Then closed. And for once, she didn't try to explain. Didn't reach for a lie. Instead, she sank to the edge of the bed. I didn't think you'd ever look, she said. Not sorry. Just defeated. I kept staring at the wall. The playlist, I said. That was him. She nodded. And the photos? Another nod. Does he still have a key? Silence. Then, no. I turned. Our eyes locked. He gave it back, I said. I found it yesterday. Same place. Her face went pale. Not guilt. Fear. He said he threw it out, she whispered. I laughed. Cold. Dry. No, Cora. He returned it. Like he thought we were done playing house. Her shoulders sagged. I wanted to scream. But the anger was thin now. Burned off. What replaced it was worse. Clarity. He's been in here, I said. In this bed. Drinking our coffee. Watching me. She didn't deny it. Didn't apologize. Just said, quietly. I tried to end it. But I missed the way he remembered me. That broke something. Not because of the betrayal. But because of how honest it was. She wasn't lying. She was just telling the truth too late. I stood up. My hands were trembling, but I didn't drop anything. Tell me his name. Julian. Tell me how long. She looked down. Then said, since before you, and I moved in together. I felt like the floor dropped. You never ended it, I said. No, she said softly. Just paused it. Paused it. Paused a whole person. A whole life. And me? I was the intermission. I didn't leave that night. That's the part no one understands when I tell them. I didn't grab my keys or scream or flip the bed or pack a suitcase. I didn't even ask her to go. I just sat on the edge of the dresser while she cried into her hands like the grief belonged to her. Because in a way, I guess it did. She had lost something too. Not me. Not really. She lost the version of me that didn't know. And that version? That man, naive, dependable, unwatched, he was dead the moment I opened that drawer. We lived in the same apartment for 6 more days. Slept in the same bed. Ate the same dinners. Spoke like neighbors pretending to still be married for the HOA. And the whole time, I planned. Because you don't walk away from something like this empty-handed. You carry something with you. Even if it's just a mirror. On the fourth night, I created a new Spotify account. No profile picture. No followers. I called it Postscript Droplet. I added a single playlist. When she stays, I stop playing this. Then I uploaded my own cover. It was a photo of Julian. I'd found him. It hadn't been hard. Her old blog. A tag post. A poetry reading in Brooklyn back in 2017. He looked different now. Beard heavier. Eyes soft. The kind of soft that makes you forget it comes after cruelty. I followed him. From my new account. I waited. 2 days later, he followed back. Then liked the playlist. Then added a track. It was one I hadn't heard before. Something obscure. A man whispering apologies into reverb. I deleted the playlist. And blocked him. Not to cut him out. To let him feel it. To remind him that silence, too, is an answer. The night before I left, I watched her sleep. One last time. She curled inward, same as always. One hand under her chin. Hair spread across the pillow like a confession. She didn't stir when I stood. Didn't move when I reached beneath the bed and took the shoebox of letters. I didn't destroy them. I mailed them. To him. No return address. No note. Just the letters. Let him remember her properly. Let her grief belong to someone else now. The morning I left, she didn't cry. She just stood in the doorway and asked, "Will you ever come back?" I looked at her for a long time, then said, "You never came here to begin with." And I walked. There's no revenge arc. No courtroom twist. No surprise ending where someone gets caught. That's not what this was. This was something slower. Colder. A quiet undoing. The kind of betrayal that doesn't scream at curates. That builds a playlist. That writes poems on unlined paper and watches someone else's partner fall asleep in someone else's shirt. I didn't destroy her life. I left her in it. With all the things she wanted. The echo. The unfinished sentence. The second favorite shirt still folded in the drawer. Now I live in a smaller apartment. No shared spaces. No shared passwords. Sometimes I walk past couples in cafes and wonder if they're real or if one of them is just a well-lit illusion the other hasn't noticed yet. Sometimes I still check Spotify. Not for her. For me. I keep one playlist. I don't share it. I don't let it follow anyone. It's called Everything I Didn't Say. And the description? No cover photo. You don't get to see me. Thanks for watching. If this story pulled you in, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next confession. Until next time, take care and watch who you trust.